लिया और हम सबको एक साथ जोड़ दिया और मिला दिया, एक मैच मेकिंग का काम किया। और मैच मेकिंग में क्या होता है, मैं जब भी अपनी लाइफ में देखता हूँ, एंड इफ आई लुक बैक, आई होप हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स इज ओके, एंड विनोद भाई, इफ इट्स ओके.
Mr. Rajiv, I would suggest you should cover it in more in English, because there are members outside Gujarat also.
All right.
And
right.
Specifically from South India.
Got it. Yep. So, when I look back my journey, I, suppose I worked for almost 30 years. I realized that in 30 years, I have actually worked only for 5 years. 25 years I've spent trying to find what to do, how to do, where to get a loan from, how to get a pollution NOC, how to get this government clearance, how, what, when. And practically I would have worked only for 5 years. 25 years spent trying to find solutions. So perhaps the biggest thing, or maybe the only thing that I have today to give to my friends is that maybe I can show you a roadmap that can help you achieve in 5 years what took me 30. And this is exactly we at IMSME of India do. That all the experiences, all the time that we've lost in finding our way, the next generation should not spend that time once again. People don't need to reinvent the wheel. And if you know the way, if you know the right solution, then that should immediately be given to an entrepreneur so that someone else moves much faster than I could in my lifetime. So it is on this foundation, it is on this thought that the entire IMSME of India and its constituents have been formed. I have written an article this morning, and in fact, that article today is the most viral, and I hear that it is doing rounds everywhere. And in this article, I have mentioned about a 1953 movie called Do Bigha Zameen. It was a Bimal Roy's movie, Do Bigha Zameen. And why I mention about this? As a child, when we used to watch one movie a week on Doordarshan in those days, a lot of Indian film classics we've all seen. People in my age group, they would be remembering. And I remember seeing this movie of Bimal Roy, Do Bigha Zameen, and many such similar movies. And the typical storyline would be that there is a poor farmer. That poor farmer goes to the market, borrows some funds from a local zamindar for something, and then there is a famine or a flood, and then he's unable to pay the debt. So he'll borrow some more money to repay the past debt. Now this principle keeps getting compounding till the time the farmer loses the land to the so-called zamindar. And this is the typical story of India, where a farmer remains poor and a zamindar keeps adding to his land bank. In this movie, Do Bigha Zameen, I remember the character, this small farmer who takes a 65 rupee loan from a money lender. And then the money compounds to 235. And so he leaves his farm, goes to Kolkata, becomes a rickshaw puller, and tries to collect money. His son becomes a thief, and the father is very upset. And finally, when he collects 235 rupees and is prepared to come back to his village, his wife meets with an accident, and this money is given to the hospital for her treatment. And in the end, the farmer loses the land to the money lender. And the last shot of the movie, I still remember that the farmer wants to pick up a handful of sand from his Do Bigha Zameen, and the security guard says, no, not your land anymore. And he could not even carry that handful of dust. So it's a heart-touching movie, and I want you all to see. And why I mention of this today is that are we entering a time where hundreds, thousands of micro enterprises are entering the same fate, when at a time that the government, while on one hand says we've done a great thing, deferring your EMIs for 3 months, deferring your interest for 3 months, and while the same government ensures that the interest cycle is still on. So even if you're not paying your installments and interest for 3 months, everything gets deferred to June or July, gets added back to your principal, so that your entire repayment changes once again. So it is the same debt trap that the entrepreneurs could be moving into. At a time like this, when Reserve Bank of India reduces its CRR from 4% to 3%, reduces the repo rate by a few basis points, so that is the time when the banks have excess liquidity. And what is the best option for them to place money? Existing regular client. And they are saying, we'll give you 10% additional credit limit so that you can do some work. Now, on one hand, they are charging you compounded interest on the deferred payment for 3 months. On the other hand, they'll give you 10% of your existing working capital. So let's say you have a working capital limit of 1 crore, so they'll give you 10 lakh, which is just sufficient actually to pay EMI interest of the past or some creditors. And that you are borrowing money again to pay the past debt. You are borrowing money again to pay the past interest. Is it not a step towards the debt trap? I want every entrepreneur to give it a thought, and we all must be extremely serious about it. Do you really call it a relief? Perhaps the best relief should have been that when the government says, Mr. Vinod Malviya, Mr. Minesh Shah, you lock your factory, no business, no sales for X days, but you have to pay salary to your employees. If they can pass this order to you, why cannot the government tell the banks that, look, for next 3 months, the interest cycle comes to a stop. Let the interest time clock come to a stop. So for next 3 months, no interest, because the entire India is locked down. And the way you and I are feeding our employees through the ordinance and notification that have been thrust upon us, that we have to pay all our employees irrespective of the lockdown. Similarly, I'm sure the bank can also pay its employees for next 3 months, not charge any interest. Maybe they can stop the interest cycle even for the fixed deposit holders. So the point is that the real relief would be when I hear that the government is stopping this interest clock, so that the MSMEs are not unnecessarily being burdened. Remember the number of your days you are locked down sitting at home. Every day, your interest and your debt burden is getting increased. You are not making any sales. You're not doing any business. Every month end, you are asked to pay salaries and wages. Now, if this lockdown period gets extended from 14th to, let us say, 30th April or whatever, what would be the situation of a small entrepreneur or a small business? Then we heard about a relief called the Provident Fund. The government said that up to 100 employees, government will, for 3 months, pay 12% share of the employer as well as employee. Dear friends, this has two conditions attached to it. Condition one, you should have less than 100 employees. Condition two, 90% of your employees should be of salary less than 15,000. Now it means that all the labor intensive SMEs are out of this. Number two, all service MSMEs. If you are in IT sector, or if you are in, an associate or a consultant or any small business sector employing 25, 30, 40, 50 people, because 10% of your employees draw more than 15,000 salary, you are out of this. So handful of entrepreneurs would finally come into this. Fact is that it is just an announcement, and I think it's a peanut of an announcement. When I look at the relief announced by my Haryana state government on fixed charges of electricity, do you know they have announced a great relief to the entrepreneurs here? They say no fixed charges for 2 months, up to a maximum of 10,000 rupees every month. So this is a huge relief that the government claims that they have given to the entrepreneurs in India. So I'm beginning with the thought that every entrepreneur must understand, and in fact, this is a time of test for the government. This is a time when the entire MSME sector is looking at the government on all its actions as well as for all its inactions. And therefore, I believe that entrepreneurs across India, Gujarat, Haryana, Delhi, I was talking to a lot of people in UP today, Aligarh today, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hosur, Kolkata, that how different entrepreneurs in different parts of India are feeling. So, friends, I began with this note. I understand it is a very, very challenging time, but I also believe that unless entrepreneurs connect and unless entrepreneurs understand the real issues, the voice would never be same. And therefore, I give a huge compliment to your organization, Mr. Minesh Shah, Mr. Vinod, Malviya, everyone, for giving this opportunity to us to connect. So I believe that we have to avoid this debt trap scenario. We have to avoid getting into the do bigha zameen kind of scenario. And I believe that the MSME sector, which is the second largest employer today in the country after agriculture, this is a sector that really, really needs to be saved. I also sometimes wonder that suppose government doesn't want to give money. Suppose government says they don't have money. Then just remember the measures which I just mentioned, would not cost the government anything. Suppose the government stops the time clock for the interest for the banks and no interest is being paid to no one. So the fact is that no one loses any money either. So there is no money outflow either. Similarly, in case of EPFO, the relief can be given that suppose for next 3 months we say PF will neither be deducted nor be deposited. Neither be deducted nor be deposited. Now just look at a scene. Suppose an employee for an average works for 30 years. In 30 years, there are 360 months. So out of 360 months of his provident fund, even if provident fund is not deposited in his account for 3 months, would it make a major dent to his social security or pension? And we're talking about just 3-4 months. Why PF cannot be suspended for 3 months? Maybe 4th month, 5th month onwards, we could start deducting again and depositing again. Surprisingly, there has been no such program for ESI. If government could do this for 3 months relaxation for PF, why not for ESI? There are many, many such challenges. And banks, I believe, have always been ruthless. And let's not talk of a time when you and I are doing well. So naturally, we are getting 10 calls a day, people offering money for a car or a home or property or business or whatever. But look at a challenging time. Look at a challenging time when the banks become absolutely ruthless. When I know hundreds of entrepreneurs who are planning to sell off a car or an old machine or a plot or a flat so as to repay the bank debt today. And then the banks demand prepayment charge, foreclosure charges, as high as 5%. There is a brutal bank called Kotak Mahindra Bank, and I name it. And there are such banks that demand 5%, 5.14% prepayment charges. So at a situation when an MSME wants to exit from a debt trap, even then 5% of prepayment. So if you have to pay a prepay a loan of 2 crore or 3 crore, be prepared to give additional 10 lakh or 15 lakh. So which means you have to sell off one more asset only for the prepayment. It is as if these MSMEs have become their bonded labor. And this at a time when there are two clear notifications of the government. One by Reserve Bank of India, that notification clearly says that individuals and MSMEs would not be charged pre-closure or foreclosure charges in case of floating rate of interest. But banks are ruthlessly demanding. A bank like Kotak Mahindra Bank would demand. And then either you pay, or maybe you can go to the court or the banking ombudsman, and if they give you relief, they'll pass it on, they'll reverse it. So they have nothing to lose. They will demand, they will take money from you, otherwise they'll hold your collateral documents and other documents. And later on, you can go to banking ombudsman, say that it was wrongly charged, and if someone rules in your favor, then they'll reverse it. So my point is that we are taking up these issues with the government at the time like this. Today also, Nitin Gadkari ji, our MSME minister, he's taken a video conferencing meeting with various stakeholders. I am fortunately in one of the task force that has been constituted by Ministry of MSME under the advice of Honorable Prime Minister of India. And it's an 8-member committee that is reviewing every MSME law in the business. And therefore, I am discussing this also with you. A time like this has come when we should be telling all our pain areas as well, so that as a member of the task force, we can look at this. We are re-looking at the entire MSME Act, what extra powers, what extra facilities, what extra rights we can give to young entrepreneurs of India who would be moving to the new India as we are moving there. And this is also the time when we have to tell the government very clearly that the relief measures so far that you think you've announced are hardly relief measures. What is in yesterday the government announced that they'll give you a TDS and IT refund in time. You think it's a big relief? It is your due legitimate money. It is just that the process of income tax refund in India is so cumbersome that today if the government says, okay, we'll give you money, refund you money without trouble, so you say it's a big relief. The process of taking loan from a bank in India is so cumbersome that today if your existing banker says, okay, I'll give you 10% extra money, so it sounds like a great relief. So I believe that many of us have actually also lost what we should be looking at. So this is also a time once we are looking at new India, once we are looking at building a new India, an India post-corona, so it is the time to learn from our present crisis situation. Why we cannot let our crisis go waste. And that is extremely important for us to understand. So let us learn from this crisis situation, both individually in our businesses, as society on our behavior patterns, on our hygiene patterns, on our cultural patterns, and then of course with the government on what actions we are looking at. I don't want a government of words only. I want a government that backs every word with an action, and that action has got to be real. And because this entire Gujarat is one state which virtually leads India through its Gujarat model as the world looks at you, through its very modern perspectives as we see. Your MSME Council is one of the finest in India. I am so happy that I now have my own unit at Gujarat, at Sanand I have set up. And so for rest of India, your state is almost like a role model. And a Gujarati entrepreneur is genetically molded, I believe, or genetically born as such, so as to become a business leader. And therefore, from these business leaders, I have not come only to share my thoughts. I believe that I would be working very closely with some of you so that we take your best ideas, best practices to rest of the world. I have a small presentation, and I'll quickly go to my share screen, and I'll try to make it brief, not very long. Idea is that I share with you some thoughts that are there in the presentation, and this I shared with Vinod ji, and very quickly I'm there. We call this entire learning program a growth acceleration program for small businesses. And if I take the recap of the last few sessions, we have some sessions like what are MSMEs, what are the benefits under CLCS subsidy, how to recover delayed payments, the various grant support and the programs for small businesses, all about loans, how to start exporting and grow. One of our very important sessions is how to detect and prevent internal inside frauds. And let me tell you, friends, just yesterday, one of our member units in my own city, Faridabad, they lost 20 lakh rupees yesterday because of the online salary transfers, which were fraudulently transferred to some wrong accounts just yesterday. And the entire cybercrime team, at a time like this, when the India is in lockdown, and you can understand how difficult it is for entrepreneurs to raise their grievances. So this small unit loses 20 lakh rupees, which has gone to hundreds of other fake accounts across the country. And who knows when the lockdown would open and when people could actually be stopped from, and that money could be brought back. So, so it's a very important program where we train entrepreneurs on how they can build some internal systems where pilferages can be minimized and frauds can be controlled. And this is only for the MSMEs that I talk about, not about the corporates. Corporates have their own audit systems, they have their own internal arrangements and barriers. Then there are certain rights of every small entrepreneur in India, and there are rights of MSMEs. And so maybe one of these days, if Vinod Bhai commits the mistake of inviting me again, so we'll talk about some of these rights. So these include 2% interest subsidy that is available for every entrepreneur, 15% capital subsidy, reservation in government purchases, payments within 45 days, priority in loans, and so on and so forth. So today is the episode 8, where we talk about preparing to restart and what every entrepreneur must know about the cash flow in these times, and especially to understand how to do business and yet avoid getting into a debt trap. Friends, this Disaster Management Act was announced on the midnight of 24th of March when the lockdown was announced, and this Disaster Management Act was invoked. Businesses were ordered closure. So a lot of the normal rights that you and I have to livelihood, to open, to work, these rights are curbed under these times. Movements become restricted. And then there is additional order under the Disaster Management Act that gives clear order that you have to give wages and salaries to all permanent, temporary, casual, and contractual employees. All permanent, temporary, casual, and contractual employees, and that you cannot lay off for some times. So different state governments have issued their own, orders on this. Let me, referring to the Central Act of Disaster Management, let me mention at this stage that this one thing itself has created huge, many issues. Imagine someone who never worked, let us say in the month of March, someone who left you before Holi, someone who left you on 1st or 2nd of March and went back home. Today, such employees are also calling and demanding the March month's salary, referring to this. Similarly, imagine a situation when some employee joined you on 22nd of March or 21st of March, and now you are supposed to pay him till 31st of March, and also continuing now till 14th of April. And if it gets extended, you will end up paying even for April to such an employee who perhaps joined you temporarily for 1 day or 2 days earlier. So there are many such challenges that entrepreneurs are facing, and therefore it is very critical to manage the cash flow in the present times. Let us divide this presentation into two quick things. One is the preparation with the business establishments you need to make. This is suppose on 15th of April, God will make it.
Rajiv, so I will interrupt you.
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen and presentation, or you are speaking without presentation?
I'm speaking with the presentation. Is it not there?
No, it is not there because yeah, when you said presentation, so I have given right of the screen share to you, but I think we are not able to see that presentation.
No, just 1 second. I'll go again, and there it is. And in fact, my presentation is there on my screen. Just one second.
You have to share the screen at the bottom, green button.
No, I did that. I went there and then I go to the desktop.
Yeah, now it's perfectly visible.
It's there. All
yeah.
Right. So preparation. So I'll divide it into a couple of things. Preparations for that we need to make. Suppose the lockdown actually opens on 15th. So how we need to prepare? The first thing that, one important thing that we must understand is that it is important to stay in touch with our workforce. We may not have any ideas about the 100, 200 people working in an organization, and many of them were daily, casual workers or contractor workers. So have they left for home? Are they still in your nearby area? How is their work condition? Hopefully they are not exposed to any COVID or any such virus during this time. So do call them, connect with them, be in touch with them. It is very important so that the day it is clear that India is opening on a particular day, then your workforce is ready to join. So we've done this in my organization for the last 4-5 days. Every day we are calling up our workmen, our contractors, our people, of course, staff Zoom meetings we are regularly taking. Even if there's nothing much sometimes to discuss, idea is to just come on the screen, greet each other. So every day, 1 hour almost we are spending with each other and enthusing them to be in touch with the workmen. So that is important. Second is that how would people join you on 15th of April? Would they be taking crowded buses once again? Crowded auto rickshaws once again, 10, 15 people loaded in an auto. What would happen to social distancing on 15th? That is a question. So would there be peak hour jams again? So what if someone brings in coronavirus to your factory and then your factory is in lockdown for next 1 month just because of one one worker, one employee, coming in unhygienically. So therefore, wherever possible, try to make your transport arrangements. Make sure that your workforce does not mingle with the crowd, the public transport. See if you can do something extra. One small idea is that maybe perhaps you can start your office on 6 a.m. on that day, so that your people come on buses when they are empty. Why every factory or every office has to run at 8:30 or 9:30 only? So can you defer the time? Can you say, okay, my office will work from 12 noon on 15th, so that your employees leave home at much later, or it could be a bit earlier. So or you make some travel arrangements. So these are important things. Then in your business, entrances. Would you be checking them for body temperature? Or would you be giving them some masks to wear? Maybe a casual worker is just wearing a handkerchief because he cannot afford to buy a 20 rupee mask or a 15 rupee mask from outside. So establishments, maybe they have to come a bit out of the way and ensure that when the people walk in, I don't know where they're coming from, but at least inside, we can create some hygienic conditions. For example, in my unit, so I'm sure you would have seen a number of different masks and different sanitizers and other things. But we finally made one of the simplest masks that now we are giving to our units. It's a very humble, simple mask that we've done with a shield. And even if someone is wearing spectacles All you have to do it just like your glasses. You wear your glasses. You just wear this. So with this, it is complete frontline protection. It is very, very light. So whether it is your security man talking to a worker while they are entering, your receptionist sitting at the reception center and someone walking in, or someone actually riding a bus or on a public transport. And along with this, of course, you can wear a mask as well. So one can add a mask. If you're wearing a mask over this, I think then it is 3 times, 4 times more protection, and takes care of your entire, because the eyes, nose, and mouth, this is the zone where the virus enters your body. A virus does not enter your body through your hands or legs, but it is just when your hand touches the virus, and then the same hand rubs your eye or nose or mouth, so then it enters. So if you're wearing a mask like this, then even sometimes, even if you catch hold of, suppose someone hands you over a glass and you take that glass, and suppose there is virus on that glass, now it comes to your hand. Now automatically, even if you want to rub your eye, so there is something here. So you just have to train yourself that before you take it off, you first wash your hands and desanitize, and then maybe you can take off and or desanitize and then rub you or touch your face. So very small, simple things. Idea is that even if you have 100 entrepreneurs, you shouldn't be spending millions on this kind of a thing. After all, we are all small enterprises. So find the low-cost options, creative options, share with each other. Maybe 100 of you can buy bulk together, 1,000, 2,000 pieces together. That is what we've done. We've ordered 10, 20,000 and giving it to all our members for their workers. So it becomes very, very cheap. And in fact, this is in 2-digit. Earlier people were quoting at 300, then 200, then 100. So every passing day, such things are coming down. So there are many such brilliant ideas, and so idea is to ensure that when your employees come there, where they come from, I have no idea. But once they are in my premises, then at least that premise should be sanitized. And therefore, it is important to regularly stay in touch with them. It is also very important to train your contractual and casual labor. You cannot differentiate between permanent labor and casual labor anymore. In fact, I believe that the time now is that every passing day, you should be looking at permanent labor. It is the time to have fewer people, but permanent people, so that you can actually take care of them. A casual labor, who knows when they go back home, where they stay, in what conditions, and if they bring virus to your enterprise, it is your enterprise that suffers and it gets harmed. So these are some very important things. If you have a canteen, maybe you can run it in 2 times or 3 times. If you have a lunch time, then don't allow people to go outside for lunch. Outside they go, normally they go for a smoke or they go for some tobacco or something. See if you can check that. Because every time they go out, even out after the lockdown, there is a risk of coming back with the virus and using the sanitizers again and the entire process again. So it's all about building a cult where your workmen need to be very, very trained. Do not allow employees with visible signs of cold, cough, fever to come to the factory. Tell them that if any one employee thinks that he or she is not well, they should just send an SMS or a WhatsApp from home, and it's a leave that is granted. Don't force your employees to work anymore. If someone says not well, period, give a leave. And so you have to ensure that no cough, no cold, no conjunctivitis, no eye flu. Because in India, sometimes I believe that our culture has been that we have never considered flu a disease. So anybody can come to the office with a common cold and give everybody a cold, or with cough and everybody is coughing. With an eye flu, everybody gets eye flu. So treat these things. I think this is time for the entire community to become more hygienic and more meaningful as they should be. Then the disposal of masks? How would people dispose of masks? I, sometimes fear that soon the way there was, polythene garbage lying all around India and all around our hill stations, the plastic bottles, the PET bottles, etc. I fear very soon we'll be seeing masks thrown around, littered around all of India. And so we have to train this next gen on disposal of masks, and especially in business establishments, if people change their masks or replace their masks, how you would be disposing them of. Think about every establishment as a bio waste generating unit. Every establishment now is a bio waste generating establishment, and therefore right disposal mechanisms have to be understood. Please remember, delayed payment now is norm of the day. There are many large corporates, for example, Hero Motocorp. They have clearly mentioned that they will not be able to pay because the stocks have not sold. Today, I got a call from one of the largest motorcycle makers in India, and I'm talking about the OEM, and I'm not naming them, but they called me and they said that we are not informing you in writing, but we are telling you verbally so that you can pass on the message to the supply chain that the payments now would be delayed from at least 15 days to maybe beyond. So enterprises which were paying perfectly till yesterday, now delayed payment is almost a norm. Many of these enterprises have invoked force majeure clause, which actually says that some legal action or something else extra cannot be done because of this situation, they are unable to hold on to the agreements and follow the agreements that they've signed with you in the purchase order. And this brings in a very critical condition that because you have not made much sales in March, half of the March month was gone. So your March sales are normally 50%. April sales till now are 0. And what if the lockdown extends till 30th of April? So April could be a washout. So 1.5 months, no sales. So your March payment, let us say, which was due in May after 60 days, you'll get only half of that money. That too, if the buyer pays you time. April sale, which otherwise would have come to you in June, because no April sale, so no payment is coming in June. While there could be orders at hand in June. In June, there maybe you have some orders that you get outside. So on one hand, in May and June, you would be needing money to buy materials, etc., to complete your new orders. There would be no past money flowing in. And if some of your past buyers also delay, as I'm mentioning, let me caution you that it could be a very, very serious situation when, in spite of having orders, many of us may not be able to fulfill. And therefore, it is important to understand what a cash flow is. I can only show you a picture here. This is what actually a cash flow is. So I'm not an economist. I'm not a very educated person. I'm one of those agutha chap, illiterate businessmen, entrepreneurs who talk only on the basis of graphics. And this is what I understand. This is what a cash flow is. What you'll get and how much you'll spill. If your outflow is more than inflow, you're in serious trouble. And therefore, I want that every entrepreneur must do his or her own cash flow analysis. You have to make how much money you'll get in April, how much money you'll get in May, in June. There also keep a conservative approach because some of your payments could get delayed. Then make a second chart, how much you have to pay. For example, in April, you have to pay your March salary, irrespective of the lockdown. On 1st of May or 7th of May, you have to pay for your April salary as per the government law. And I'll always guide you to remain on the right side of the law. I mean, there could be other people telling you left side, right side, trying to evade. I'm not guiding you there. Point is, if the law says pay for salaries, pay for salaries. It is a loss. And then we'll, of course, talk later about how to minimize the impact. That discussion we'll sure take. But then May, you have to pay for April. There could be lesser payment coming in May, while maybe after the lockdown, you're restarting. So make this must pay list and must receive list, the expected inflow and expected outflow. And it is where I say, even though it is a debt trap, mind you, even though it is a debt trap, but if you get firm future orders, if you get firm future orders, and if you are hopeful that your industry will survive. Now, this is very important thing that I'm making today. Please understand, if you are in restaurant business, your business is not likely to restart for next 6 months. If you are in travel business, your business would still be hugely negatively impacted for next long time. If you are in hotel business, I doubt if people would be traveling as much and staying in hotels as much. If you are running a pub or a discotheque, I mean, Gujarat, of course, is a prohibition state, and that is why I come there so less. But, other places where there are pubs or discotheques or a video, game or gaming zone, entertainment zone, water park, gone. So if you're running such an enterprise, like airlines, like other things, there are many such enterprises that would be hugely impacted. Let us say someone is in the exhibition business, the MICE business, as they say, the conferences, the event management, the marriages. All of these are going to be hugely impacted for a long time. So if such an entrepreneur borrows more money to keep the restaurant alive, I'm sure he's actually burying his own future. So some very different measures are required there. And that, of course, we'll be discussing one-to-one with the entrepreneurs who are faced with such a challenge. But let us say you are in a business which is immediately about to revive. You are in automobile business. You are in two-wheeler component business. You are in mask making business, where you think now it is the boom time. You are in a healthcare, a sanitize maker, whatever. So point is that if you are in a business where you immediately see an opportunity, then this slide is for you. And I say, avail of all relief measures, all the deferments, because whatever you are not paying right now is the little working capital you are accumulating for yourself. I know it is on interest that it is being deferred. I am repeating that it is getting compounded also. And yet, it is only with this small amount that in May and June, you will buy some raw material and restart your business. So if your business has a graph or that's likely to go up, this slide is for you. You can avail of the relief measures announced by the banks and other things. And so that is why you have to make your choice. And this choice has to depend upon, it depends upon the kind of business and your own individual liquidity and strength. Let me also caution you that, again, if you see the cash flow, the inflow is going to be very staggered. This is going to be different for different people. For example, if you've not exported something for the last 2 months, now I don't know how much orders you still have at hand. I know many exporters who could not export because of lockdown. Now some of their buyers are refusing to pick up the consignments. So their virtually entire season is getting washed out. So this is a cycle that your business would see for itself. However, I will caution everyone that please do not defer high cost loans. For example, your credit card payment. If you defer a credit card payment, the interest accrued is exceptionally high. Suppose you have a personal loan, unsecured personal loan at 16, 18%. Please don't defer it. Pay it in time. On the other hand, there could be some low cost loans. For example, home loan. Home loan is the lowest interest rate loan in India, around 8%, 8.25, 8.5. Defer it. Use this EMI for your business. It's almost like borrowing money for your business at home loan rate of interest. So therefore, make a list of high cost interest loans and low cost interests. And if you can defer some of those low interest loan payments, that would be better for your business. This may sound a bit unethical, but very, very practical. You know, in a flight, they always say that in case of any drop in oxygen, your mask would come down. You first wear a mask for yourself, and then you help someone else, even if it's your child sitting next to you. So you first have to wear your own mask, and then you have to help your fellow friends. Same is in the business. You are in a boat, save your boat, everybody is saved. But if your boat itself gets drowned, then who's there to save? So therefore, to save your boat, sometimes you may also have to delay payments of your suppliers, some of your raw material suppliers. The way your buyer is now delaying your payment, you have to talk to your suppliers, tell them about the tough conditions, and tell them how you would also now release payment 30 days later or whatever. And talk to them, especially the trading companies. Their fixed cost expenses are much, much lower. Talk to your landlord. Tell your landlord to waive off the interest rate. Very important. At least ask your landlord. Maybe he'll not waive, maybe he'll only defer, maybe he'll waive it to you, waive 50% for you. But start talking. Tell them about your problem. Write an email to your landlord. Write a letter to your landlord. And last, in this slide you see, write a force majeure letter, email to your suppliers. If you are in a contractual agreement with someone that you have to supply something, otherwise there's penalty, or you have to pay in this much days, otherwise there is penalty. So invoke force majeure clause for your suppliers, for your landlord, for others whom you have to pay, for your creditors, and so that there is no legal demurrage that is demanded from you in times to come. This is important for businesses that are in government contracts, that are in many, many other contracts. For example, one of my friends, one of our member companies, they are one of the largest outdoor advertising companies in India. So what they do is they take contracts from the entire railways, that okay, every month they'll give this much to railways or this much to metro, and all advertising rights are there. Now at a time like Corona, the first thing that the companies do is they cut down all the advertising budget. So all companies have written to him, all future advertisements cancelled. All past payments due, invoke the force majeure clause. So he is not getting payment for whatever advertisements he has done. He will not be getting new advertisements at least for next long, long time. So I have advised him to invoke force majeure clause, write to his railways and metro and other from where they purchase the advertising rights and the space rights, because it is there that this kind of a legal arrangement has to be done. Otherwise, they may blacklist him tomorrow. And who knows, couple of years later, who remembers Corona? People wouldn't even remember that there was a corona time, and because of this there were so many deferments. And I've seen many, many such things. Demonetization days, I know every day the government used to give some assurance, something, and later on, as the income tax assessments and other things happened, I've seen people suffering. Save every penny that you have. Be prepared to live with it, because it could be all that you have for a long, long time. So you have to hold on to whatever little cash you have today in bank, because now till the time you make your next sale and you receive your next payment, I think it could be sometime. So I'm not expecting any payment coming to me in April. I'm not making any sale in April, which means I'll definitely not get any money in June. And how would I prepare for the Diwali season if by then there is no corona? So my point is, last Diwali season also was virtually a washout. And if this Diwali also gets washed out, then it's almost like a death knell for the MSME sector. And the last here, as you see, is that whenever you are restarting, you'll need to buy some sanitizer, make some arrangements, some better factory layout, some changes there. So there could be some more extra work that you would be required to do. So some investment that you would have to make, cleaning your factory again, etc., etc. So I believe that you should keep this money very, very handy. And I've talked to you about the support. Government claims that they've given some support. They've deferred the compliance date, some ESI payment dates, bank EMIs interest deferment, Provident Fund I've talked about. If you ask me, and I've explained before, these are hardly relief measures. These are hardly relief measures unless the interest cycle is stopped. And that is what we are talking to the government about this. RBI, of course, has given some liquidity to the banks. So maybe in times to come, if you borrow, your new loans could be at a lower rate of interest. But let me caution you here that borrow new funds for new productive ventures. Borrow new funds for new productive ventures. Don't borrow funds only to meet with your past liabilities. You would be entering into the debt trap, the do bigha zameen. So be very, very sure that in times to come, loans may get cheaper. And that is why I'm asking the government to allow us to prepay our past loan, if possible. And maybe you have a car loan going at 12%, and now someone offers you at 8%. So why you should not have an option to pre-close that and move here? And that is why we are insisting upon the government to remove this prepayment clause. So let us see how these things would come. SIDBI also has come out with additional funding scheme, 15% of the outstanding amount. SBI has come 10%. SIDBI has come up with a SAFE program. It's a SAFE scheme where they're giving you up to 2 crore at 5%. 2 crore rupees at 5% if you are entering into a business of healthcare, COVID prevention. So if you plan to make masks or sanitizer or ventilators or something that can help us fight against the corona, then you can get up to 2 crore rupees at 5%. That is for the new productive ventures. New productive ventures, look at funding, look at credit. Otherwise, I would certainly not recommend. And this is what was the title of my today's blog that has gone viral in India, the Do Bigha Zameen, which is almost like a death trap for the MSMEs. And we have to be extremely careful. We have our institution, IMSME of India. We are online. You can download the app of IMSME of India. It is on Android as well as on iOS. It's a free app. Download it so that you can remain updated with various things that we are doing, and your things also keep reaching us. And of course, in future, we'll be doing a lot of work together. And with Vinod Bhai there, with Manish Shah ji there, if we get an opportunity, we'll definitely do a lot of things. So whenever you want any particular session on, let us say, fraudulent practices management or any other thing that I mentioned to you, if there's any other query or question, and if you commit this mistake of inviting me again, then of course I'll be back here. So over to you, Minesh ji and Vinod bhai.
Thank you, Rajiv bhai, and we will be committing this mistake again and again in coming years.
Sir.
Yeah, Mr.
So now, Rajiv ji, it was a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
I'll ask all the participants if they can come across any questions, any queries right now. We can have some questions, right, Mr. Rajiv?
Yes. May I?
Yeah, you can. I mean, have one. We can have one by one questions. The guys should unmute, raise a question, and then again mute their audios so that there is no disturbance.
Hi, this is Abbas Lahiri. Can you hear me?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, the salary part which government has said to pay, but in my opinion, I think it is not legally binded. It is not a legally binded aspect. Legally, we don't have to pay salary if we don't want to. Your thoughts, Rajiv sir?
Okay. I'll not enter into a long debate. In fact, just yesterday, we had invited the best Supreme Court lawyers on our Zoom, and it was an amazing debate and a lot of interaction, a lot of fun, a lot of discussions, views from all point of view. But I'll just give you the crux. It is legally binding to pay. The reason is that the union government has invoked the Disaster Management Act 2005. In fact, the minute this act comes, it is almost like an emergency situation. Many of the state rights, many of the human rights, they are taken away. And now under this act, concurrently read with section 188, the laws and orders are enforced. And if someone does not comply, then there is imprisonment up to 1 year along with the fine. So it is under this invocation of the Disaster Management Act that orders have been passed, specific orders have been passed, that to check the migration of the labor, all employers are asked to pay them for the lockdown days without any deduction to permanent, temporary, casual, and contractual. So I am very clear on this. I've done lots of studies. It is statutory requirement to pay. Let me tell you, even 2 months later, 6 months later, if someone lodges an FIR against you that you did not pay them for this period, it would be serious problem. So my advice to all entrepreneurs, please pay. Now there are some gray areas. Gray area is that if I look at the definition of the wage in the Wage Act, Minimum Wage Act. Now the definition of wage says that it is the remuneration for the work done. Now in this period, there is no work done. Because there is no work done, there is no wage. And the government order says that you have to make the payments of the wages for all lockdown days. So technically, some people are trying to take shield in the fact that the order says that payment of wages is must. And in this period, because there was no work, so there is no wage. And therefore, Government of India in its order has backed up with another line, and government has added that all such workers would have, it would be deemed to be working in the lockdown days, deemed to be working. So the Government of India order is very, very clear, and wages have to be paid. Second thing is that now some people are trying to differentiate between wage and salary. Wage and salary. Government of India in August 2019, Government of India has come out with a new wage code, as you know. And this new wage code was passed by the Parliament and is already in the ordinance. However, for whatever reason, it has till date not been notified. So the law is made, but not yet notified. So therefore, you and I are saved. In this new law, it clearly says that there is no difference between wage and salary. So the new law of the land, which is not yet enforced, that new law clarifies that there is no difference between wage and salary. So now, whenever the new law is implemented, even your senior most manager drawing a salary of 2 lakh or 5 lakh rupees a month can go to the labor court. But that is for future. As of now, the salary of up to 24,000 rupees is considered a wage, up to 24,000 rupees, and above 24,000 rupees as a salary. Let me also tell you that this also has another reference with the Industrial Disputes Act. Now, Industrial Dispute Act is again very clear. Who is a workman and who is a staff? So, technically, if I say, if you have a tool room person, a technician working with machines, building machines, repairing machines, but such a person draws 50,000 salary, he's still a workman. So he's still drawing a wage, even if that wage is 50,000 or 70,000. So therefore, a very important thing, and MSMEs will always fail at that. A very important thing is the appointment letter. If there is appointment letter, in 99% of cases, there is no appointment letter. But if there is an appointment letter, and that appointment letter is of a technician or a worker, and then maybe over a period of time that you start calling that person production manager, he still could be drawing a wage because the appointment letter comes from there. So there are a lot of complexities. I can go on and on with the law, because I, learned from all of you friends and thousands of such friends across India. But let me be very, very honest and very clear. This is not the time to confront with the government. Please pay for March dues. For April, now it is between now 1st and 14th. I know it is a very tough situation. Even in my factory, I pay a salary of almost wages and salary of 20 lakh. Now to pay 20 lakh rupees for April in a close down, what would I be left with in future? So it's not a very easy situation. And so we are knocking the doors of the government. We are asking the government for 2 or 3 things. A, like Australia, like UK, give us 80%. In UK, they have borne 80%. So government can do. But even if now, I'll give another solution, the way I gave for PF, a solution where government also does not have to pay, and it is easier for everyone. And that solution is the way government compensates a daily wage worker by giving him 4,000 rupees. For example, in Delhi, they say all the daily wage people, auto rickshaw drivers, taxi drivers, people who are unable to work during the lockdown time, people who are running roadside dhaba and that is closed. So all such people, government of Delhi has given 5,000 rupees each. Haryana has given 4,500 rupees. Punjab has given 3,000 rupees. I'm sure in Gujarat also some payment would have been announced for such a category. So if an unregistered daily wage worker can be compensated by giving by giving 4,000 or 5,000 rupees, why my factory worker should get 10,000 rupees? Why I also cannot give him only 5,000 rupees? So if government is trying to compensate its people by giving 1,000 rupees in Jan Dhan Yojana or 4,000 rupees to a daily wage worker, why is it forcing you and me to pay full salary at a time of national calamity? So this is another very strong legal point that we are taking with the government, that either you share or co-share this burden, or allow me to pay 4,000 or 5,000 rupees the way you are paying to your masses. So while all this demand, this tug of war will continue to go, let me be very clear, we have to pay for March. Be prepared to pay for April. However, we are very seriously planning to go to Honorable Supreme Court. And first we'll talk to the state governments, request them to bear the burden of these wages of the registered workers also, the way they are doing for unregistered. Or they should allow us to pay what the government is paying to the unregistered workers, same we should be paying to our registered workers. Or we'll go to Honorable Supreme Court for such a solution. But let us see. So all that is still to come. But to answer the legal question, the legality today is, yes, you have to pay. Practical situation is differentiate between wage and salary. If you have people drawing 50,000, 80,000, 1 lakh rupees in your enterprise, talk to them, tell them that you are deferring part of their salary, pay them 50%, pay them the basic, the HRA and the other allowances can be deferred. I'll give you a real example. My daughter, and she's a doctor, and she's a pulmonologist, and she's at the front line handling and treating COVID patients at a hospital in Gurgaon. So she's the pulmonologist at Gurgaon. At a time like lockdown, she is not locked down at home. In fact, she's working more day and night. So an employee who is in lockdown days also working in high-risk areas, working more hours, such and she yesterday received her salary 30% less from the Artemis Hospital. So imagine a doctor, I mean, our employees who are sitting at home, government is forcing us to pay them full. While on the other hand, here is a doctor who's working. There is no lockdown for her. In fact, more is expected from her. But yesterday she received her salary 30% less, and an email from the hospital that rest is deferred and she will get after the situation normalizes. And who knows when. So if doctors can bear it, talk to your senior employees, defer part of their payment. Let me tell you, if someone confronts you, if someone fights with you or threatens you that they'll go to the court or something, it is the time to understand such employees, such people. It is the time, it is the test of their character also. And be happy that you have seen their true colors today. If they cannot compromise with you today, don't expect them to do something extraordinary for the enterprise at any other time. So that would also be an eye-opener for us.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next question. Someone has answered that. Someone has asked a question in the chat box. Can we give the salary in a ratio or a percentage of the salary from the lockdown?
I said.
Yeah, you already said.
I've replied to this. Yes, you can talk to your employees, high salaried employees, give them part payment, defer part payment, deduct their earned wages, but take a letter from them that they are willing to forego their earned leave or casual leave or sick leave. And why not? What are earned leaves for? Casual and sick leave for? An employee normally gets 14 earned leave, 8 casual leave, sick leave. So almost 20, 21 leaves in a month, in a year. So why those cannot be adjusted in this time? Or half of those. So talk to your employees. I think it's an individual HR issue also.
One more question. Is the disaster management implemented in India?
Yes. Invoked at the midnight of 24th of March. So that is why all rights of all states have been taken now. They are all with the central government. So central government is directing them on what to do.
There is another question. Someone is asking about that directive of Haryana state about the fixed charges of electricity.
Okay, Haryana government has hardly given a relief. They said fixed charges relief up to 10,000 only. So if someone if let us say in April the entire factory is closed and someone gets a fixed charge bill of, let us say, 1 lakh rupees, so there will be a relief of 10,000. The person will still have to pay 90,000. So it's a handful of relief, hardly any relief. I see Mr. Manikam saying that if banks have to hold interest collection on the other side, how would they pay interest to their depositors? That is exactly what I said. For 3 months, stop the interest cycle. So banks don't pay interest to the deposit holders. So deposit holders lose interest for 3 months. Banks don't charge for 3 months. It is like putting everything at a standstill for a few days. If your business can be asked to close and not work for 21 days, why cannot a depositor's money be asked to hold for 21 days and not be given interest? So if you can ask a restaurant to close, if you can ask a mall to close, if you can ask a gym to close, why you cannot ask a fixed deposit to close for 21 days? So idea is that the entire business cycle, when it comes to standstill, all interest cycle also should come to standstill.
I believe even the GST we have to pay for March month. Otherwise, if we defer, we pay 9% interest.
Yes, earlier the interest was 18%. They have given you a huge relaxation by reducing it from 18% to 9%. They will charge you interest, but at a slightly human rate of interest.
There's one question in my personal WhatsApp, and they're asking, like, when we pay salary to the employee, so there's a certain breakup of the salaries, like basic salary, HRAs, then ESIC, provident fund, social welfare. So can we pay only basic salary, and can we avoid depositing provident fund?
Legally, no. Practically, one-to-one, face-to-face, yes. Please do it.
Okay. Got it.
Then Srishti Shah is asking whose responsibility is to pay the contractual or casual laborers, employer or principal employer? We are in the construction industry, so whose responsibility it is?
Always the principal employer. Always the principal employer. Except where you have given a service contract.
Yes.
For example, if you have given a contract to someone, the cleaning charges, that someone will come and do your housekeeping and go away. So that person comes with his manpower, uses his own soap and other broom and sanitizing things. They clean up the area and they go. And now you cancel their contract. So in such a case, the other person is the contractor is actually the principal employer. You had only given contract for the housekeeping, and others were his employees. So that is one kind of contract. However, the way, for example, government says, okay, you build my road. So you build the road and they are your employees. But in a situation where you hire contractual employees through a contractor, they come to your factory, they run your machines, and they are the contract labor. On his role, you are the principal employer. You have to. So you are responsible. And therefore, those of us working through contract employees or contractors, please ensure that your contractors pay to their employees and submit you proper proof of payment, so that should at any time there is any legal objection, someone claiming that the person was not paid, you have the proof that the contractor paid. So don't go by their verbal assurance. Number two, don't go by their cash vouchers. They'll give you cash vouchers that, oh sir, I have given him 5,000 rupees cash and 5,000 by check. Remember, the law recognizes only the check payment, not the cash payment. So even if your contractor claims that he or she has given cash payment to the worker, it is considered as low payment.
That is very important.
Sir, sir,
Yeah, Mr.
so
Trichy.
I have a question, sir. So I'm a entrepreneur from Tamil Nadu, Trichy. We have been working in a rental space in Summers building, office space. Can we give them 50% of the rent? Is there any possibility or not? As we are in
I would
lockdown,
say don't give any rent, talk to them, invoke a few force majeure clause, tell them you cannot pay for April and May, clearly, and June.
okay.
Give them a
sir.
letter that you are unable to pay rent for next 3 months because of this, and you are invoking force majeure clause. And in July, you will review the situation and decide for July. And so at the most, maybe he'll talk to you, he'll request you, okay, give me 50%, give me 20%, but start with 0.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions? There is one question by Apurva Shah. Hourly wages payment employees shall be paid in case of no hours work.
Hourly payment employees shall be paid in case of
No hours work.
See, piece rate payment, any wage payment, daily wage payment, all these payments you have to make even for the lockdown days, and deemed work is taken as done. The deemed work is done.
That's true.
Sir, I'm Parag. I have one question. We are from Gujarat. We have sites for execution of firefighting work at the 4 different places of Gujarat. We got a notification from the Sarpanch that first, irrespective of the subcontractor labors of the welders and the fitters, we have to pay a salary. Second, they ask that you have to pay a salary not on the salary but with the minimum wages. So if my welder is on the salary of 12,000, which I have already paid off for the full month of March, they ask me that you pay with the 666 rupees of the minimum per day wages.
No, this is absolutely illegal, and
Okay.
because there is a separate daily wage, there is a separate weekly charge and monthly charge. So
Yeah.
daily wage rate is different than the monthly wage rate. So you should refer to the notification, the minimum wage chart as given by the Labor Department of Gujarat. Follow that chart, stick to it. In case of any issue, talk to your labor inspector or labor officer. If you are compliant, stay compliant, but do not succumb to local pressure or some goon pressure.
Fine. Thank you.
I think Minesh, we can take last 1 or 2 questions and we can.
Yep, we can take one last 1 or 2 questions if anyone want to ask anything.
In case we make payment, and can we get the bargain by getting more work done in when the lockdown opens?
Why not? But
It's the way to go.
when you say bargain, you're talking about like what? Some agreement being done?
Right now, right now we make some payment, let us say 50-60% without doing any work, like rightly what you said, whatever you are paying. So these monies are paid for doing nothing, and in turn when lockdown opens, you tell them your people to work little more and get things compensated accordingly.
Sir, with mutual understanding, anything is allowed.
Okay.
You're talking about legal law, so you cannot take more than 8-hour work a day. And if beyond 8 hours, then double the overtime has to be paid. So you understand the law. So with mutual agreement, maybe you can convince your people to work 2 hours extra every day and not demand an overtime. But that, I hope that is not taken as some form of bonded labor or forced labor or something else. So that is why I'm not talking about, I don't want to talk about all this. It's all about how you manage internally with your mutual teams. Technically, 8 hours a day work is there, and anything more than that, you have to pay double the wage as overtime compensation. And then, entire new set of law comes in. So with mutual understanding, everything is okay. Otherwise, in case of dispute, there is Industrial Dispute Act, and that has to be referred.
Sir, I have one question. As a supplier, as you said, supplier should be the least priority for the payment, right? But the supplier who is supplying is dependent. No, this is a serious question for me.
Very, very
See,
serious.
when I am not priority, I will not get anything. Where should I go? So
Okay.
it means that I have to close my business further, so that government should not give me any challenge, or no employee can be there's any question on me. That situation, what I understood, this is called what you can say personal force majeure or whatever. This is an emergency, whatever you can say for small people.
Okay, your point is very valid. And that is why I say it is unfortunate that sometimes I say that, for example, I'm supplying, let us say, something to, let us say, Hero Motocorp. And now Hero Motocorp says that they'll be making lesser payments. They'll be delaying payment. Then naturally, I have to delay payment of some of my suppliers. So therefore, I said it is time to take your suppliers in confidence, narrate to them your compulsion, tell them that you are getting your payment 15 days late, so you may also be paying 15 days late. You would have suppliers of 2-3 categories. One category would be very, very small. Someone who just drives a truck for you and takes your material from here to there. So such a person could be a very small service provider, or some supplier who supplies you small items. And so naturally, maybe to such suppliers you can pay. They would be as good or as bad as your own workmen. There could be other suppliers who could be very, very strong, large companies who are supplying you, and maybe some of them even take advance payment from you. So there also you cannot hold the payment. There are a lot of raw materials even I buy, and they say you first pay advance and then we'll dispatch. So that situation also remains. So there also you don't have a negotiation power. Your negotiation power normally comes for in-between suppliers who have some strength to carry on. For example, your packaging supplier, your corrugated box supplier, or some component supplier who is normally giving you a credit of, let us say, 30 days, and you say, now please extend it to 45 days. So therefore, all this is business management, and where you could be, when I have enough money, I take some extra discount and pay them in cash discount also. I take a cash discount and pay them cash. But this is a time where if you are unable to pay, talk to them. The way you are extending extra 15-day credit, try to demand this extra credit from them.
So as a supplier perspective, wisdom is we will have to make a guideline.
Yes.
For supplying the material. Since, see, we have supplied, our outstanding is already there, and they will require our material to complete their job. So we have a choice to give them our terms and condition. If you need our supply, then either you give delay payment, but we can charge you interest. Is that possible?
That is possible. It all depends upon you and your buyer. See,
but it should be signed on any legal document, or it can be a simple contract.
No, it can be simply on email. It can be on purchase order. No special contract is required. Any agreement, verbal or written, both stand in the law.
Okay. Basic problem is in our construction industry, wherever big contractors are there, they are always delaying payment. They are very bad paymasters. They are doing.
Have you registered yourself in MSME?
Yes.
Okay. Then my last 1 minute to everybody. Please register yourself as MSME if applicable, if eligible. Register yourself as MSME. When you register yourself as MSME, there is a very important law, an act that protects you from delayed payments. The law of the land is very clear that even if you and I decide that you will pay me in 90 days, The law says you have to pay me in 45 days. So the law of the land is very clear that payments to MSMEs have to be made within 45 days. Now, let us say in routine business, you are paying me in 90 days and I'm okay with it and I am not disputing it, no problem. But in case of dispute, when I will knock the door of the law will ensure that payment must come in 45 days and all the delay till date that has been done, they will charge interest even on that and ask this buyer to give to you, and that interest will be 3 times the bank rate. 3 times the bank rate. So register yourself as MSME. So your foot is strong. Now you can offer some additional credit. If in case it is okay to you, okay to everyone, but in case of any dispute at any stage, at least you have recourse to law and you get protected by this 45 days payment.
Okay. Thank you.
Personally, I am myself a member of the Haryana Facilitation Council, and your Gujarat Facilitation Council is also a very strong body. So your council and Haryana Council together, these two councils have recovered payments worth more than 600 crore delayed payments for MSME sector just in these two states. So fortunately, you are in very good hands. Gujarat is administratively a very well managed state. So you are much better placed than many other state and entrepreneurs elsewhere.
Rajiv sir, thank you, sir. We have been meeting our company's needs as in times. If you have any doubts in future, how can we contact you, sir?
Sir, I request you, we download the app of IMSME of India, and I just mentioned, and we have a very basic online membership. It is only 1,000 rupees for 1 year, 999 rupees only for 1 year. So join that online, and it is the largest network. We'll be in touch. You can ask your questions. We'll reply. We'll do such Zoom meetings. Ask other entrepreneurs in your area also. 1,000 rupees a year is nothing. It's hardly any cost. So idea is that we should all remain connected so that we can listen to each other issues. And Delhi, at least, your voice from Tamil Nadu and Gujarat and Coimbatore and other areas can reach Delhi also through our offices, and we all find. So join IMSME of India, and I invite you.
Okay, so then when we have any queries about laws,
उसमें क्या था मैडम, मेरे एक जो को पार्टनर और हैं, जो को कलीग हैं, समीर भाई, वो आज कमिश्नरेट में थे. मैं भी 2 दिन से कोशिश कर रहा था किसी से कांटेक्ट करने की, तो आज वो रविंद्र जी के थ्रू आपसे कांटेक्ट हो पाया. तो आज वो कमिश्नरेट में थे और लांबा सर से बात हुई है उनकी. तो हम वो सिस्टम तैयार कर रहे हैं, वो साइट भी देख के आ गए हैं ऑलरेडी वहाँ पे.
Mr. Valavati.
Okay, friends, I have just written my email ID down. If you can see, I have just written my email ID down. So if you can note it down for any query, you can write to any of these emails, chairman@imsmeofindia.com or info@imsmeofindia.com. So if you want to remain connected, just send us a test email, and we'll add your email ID to our database. So you will keep updating yourself, and do join IMSME of India online, and I think you'll get good value for.
I would be sharing, Rajiv, all the details.
Rajiv.
So let's conclude. I think it's almost 6.
Rajiv, only one question from my end. In the MSME, see, there are many consultants also in this group. Under the MSME, can the consultants also be part of MSME?
Yes, sir. All self-employed, chartered accountants, architects, anyone. We're all small business people, and your payments will also be protected. You give consultancy to someone, raise a bill, you don't get paid, your payments will also be protected. So all these rights of entrepreneurs are accrued. So connect with us, and we'll help you register as MSME entrepreneur. because everything is online, and I'm sure you can also enjoy these benefits.
Traders can join MSME?
Okay, my one request to everyone, and this request is worth $1 million, but I'll give it free for my friends in Gujarat. Stop calling yourself traders. If trading is a word जो कि लोग बहुत negative सुनते हैं. People, so people think trader means people who hoard money, people who hoard stocks, people who do black marketing, etc. You're not traders. You are service providers.
Yeah, true.
You are service providers. You provide solutions to me. So when you give me raw material, you also give me solutions. When you are selling me a computer, you are also giving me IT services. So you are a service provider. If you are selling me a motor, then or a fan, then you are also sending an electrician to fit that fan. So you are also giving me service. If I buy air conditioner from you, so you also give me service, to cleaning and etc. So please stop calling yourselves as traders. You are service providers. You are raw material service provider. You are a consultant. You provide services. So all of us are service providers or manufacturers or a combination of both. And therefore, all of us are entrepreneurs. And law has only one word. Law recognizes us as enterprise. You can be a manufacturing enterprise. You can be a service enterprise. So all traders, if I discuss with you, there would be many services that you would be doing at my end in terms of guiding me, giving me solutions. So therefore, you sell me a machine and then you also take AMC on that. So there are lots of services backed up. So you are all service providers. So the minute you say you're a service provider, you are an enterprise, and everybody gets protection in the law.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Rajiv. On behalf of our entire IPA Indian Plumbing Association, I would not say Ahmedabad chapter because there have been members from across India. I have seen attendees from Tamil Nadu, from Coimbatore, from Nasik, from Delhi, from various parts of the country. I thank on behalf of the entire association, and maybe in coming time we'll commit a mistake of calling you another time, maybe within this lockdown period, or maybe after the lockdown period also. Thanks once again to everyone for the participation. Vinod, now we can just close the session.
Yeah, so I would request all of you, if you are having any kind of question and queries, please write mail to us. We will make a list of the question. We will forward to Mr. Rajiv's office, and he's a very responsive person, and he will reply you in some time. We understand we could not take your questions, or you might be having certain question after this session. So you all feel free to write mail to us. And Rajiv ji, my heartfelt thanks to you. Actually, usually in IPA tradition, we give respect by giving some kind of memento from our Ahmedabad chapter, but there's a physical distance and we cannot do this formality. So I request all of you kindly unmute yourself and give huge round of Rajiv.
Yeah, that's sure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
To discuss on the topic, we were talking on the WhatsApp on EC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. We'll catch up later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The situation, I shared some videos.
Vinod ji.
Lockdown is strictly followed by us. And yeah, it's a
કેતનભાઈ વિનોદભાઈ
બોલો
આપણે બધા નીકળી જાય તો આપણી ઈસી ની ટીમ રહે અથવા વાત કરવી હોય તો કરી લઈએ
હા બોલો
પણ let other people
or else we can have another Zoom call for this meeting.
आप सबका रिक्वेस्ट
विनोदभाई
विनोद सबको म्यूट कर दे एक बार.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Now you can unmute yourself, Nish.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Except for Ahmedabad chapter executive committee members, I will request everyone to just leave the chat box.
Still, there are 18 participants.
Kindly, there's a right hand side, but there's one button. It's called leave meeting. So kindly leave the meeting.
Chetan bhai.
Okay, I need
Harsh.
Maybe Vinod, can you just?
I can remove them one by one.
Them?
So
Yeah, you can just remove them one by one.
Yeah.
Dipin bhai is not online. He was there.
Only we 5 people are here. Baki Dipin bhai, Niril bhai, Havin bhai, I think they have.
નથી મેં એમને કહું કરું છું પછી. 8 people are on chat or we are 5 only.
There are only 5. Baki sab left kar gaye.
Okay, yeah, 5 participants.
Dipin
Yeah,
bhai,
the topic, Vinod bhai, the topic and points you have raised in the EC regarding the STP or a wastewater treatment, the fundamental answer by Muni bhai is this is a subject which you want to cover in 1 hour, which is not possible. Right now, whatever, see, organic chemistry or even biochemistry or even genome, if you go into the details with the yesterday's even email of WHO and Harvard and even Michigan, MIT and even Netherlands, you can understand the subject needs much more understanding. See, wastewater can depict what chemicals any individual or even biological microbial side anyone is coming across. So subject itself is a very deep subject, can't be covered like this, and it has to be, means you want ready-made formula 44 which is not available. He's saying we have to learn, keep on learning, and minimum 2 hours. Whatever we have done until now, maybe we have to rewrite all the standards. Many new things will come. And that is something, if all of us are open to learn, it is a continuous process. Maybe like in a lockdown period, we are free, we are talking. When genuinely he was available or he was coming for a dialogue, no one was ready to even learn or listen to him. Now, when the crisis has come, we are looking at him, but the point is, he is even talking to NIT, he is talking to IIT, even he is talking to many other engineering colleges in Surat. And even one time Ketan Bhai was there, we had a very close discussion, 3 or 4 people only were there. The point is very simple. Are we really genuinely want to learn? First question is that. We today virus has put to this difficulty, so we are trying to talk, but that's not the way to look forward. If genuinely we want to learn this, it is something, see, I can show you, see, I am reading this book. Are you been able to see this book? This is 300-page volume, and every page has even 100 words which are something to be referred back to dictionary. And even reading 100 pages has taken almost maybe 20 days. So it is that difficult, and understanding of all that is very, very difficult. Unless and until we understand all, we will be able to conclude very clearly on the results we are looking at it. So this is something he has conveyed. So what he can't be contacted like this, and he is saying in 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, it is a subject can't be discussed. There are so many presentations. Unfortunately, what has happened? My presentation, which I did when your presentation did not take off, I only talked about SML case study, and where zero energy, zero discharge I showed.